I'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you're listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes. His co-host to my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Producing back east as he always does, Danny Otto. Special co-host for the first hour, the menace, Michael Johnson, UFC featherweight, part-time lightweight. I think he'll go up for the right offer. What's going on, guys?
What's up? Not much.
Dude, I am just coming across. Did something go down in Australia at the weigh-ins?
Behind the curtain.
Can't see it?
No.
Damn. Nobody's got a phone back there or nothing?
Nah, I mean, I think it was just pretty fast.
All right, so what was the commotion? Because I literally, as I was talking, I was trying to read.
From what I understand, they just got in each other's face.
Mark Hunt and Justin Willis.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever seen commotion like that behind, like in the back? Or is it usually pretty chill?
It's usually pretty chill.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about as you're standing in line?
Now, then it gets a little heated when you're standing in line.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that the video I did in New York. I kind of took over the UFC's like Instagram, and I kind of tried to get behind the stage, you know, weigh-ins, but it was a little dark. But, you know, you could see the
Which show? The recent one?
Who was that in New York? Who's the last fight card in New York?
That one had Weidman and Jacare.
Yeah, that was it. That was
the one you did?
Louis
Cormier.
So what happened there?
Nothing much. I just, I was trying to show everybody, the weigh-ins and people in the back. So
That's the most testy a fighter will be, like right before that.
I think when we're on stage,
Yeah.
it's a little more testy. Because then you got all the eyes watching
But
you,
you
so
don't-
you kind of got to do something maybe.
But you don't have energy, though, right? Aren't you, like, depleted? I mean, prior to the one where you weigh in the morning.
This is the weigh-in morning you're talking about.
Yeah, no, remember the old days when you guys had to weigh in at 4 and you were dehydrated?
There was a little commotion back then, where people were a little upset and
the bus
couldn't eat and drink. You had to sit back there for like an hour, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tension rises then, you know, so.
That's crazy, man, that you guys do that, and then 24 hours later you gain 10% of your body weight and then fight to the death. Almost. I mean, you're trying to hurt. It's not like you have a death punch and you're like, well, I don't want to kill him, so let me hold back a little bit. I mean, you're punching as hard as you can, you're kicking as hard as you can, but 24 hours before, you're on your deathbed.
Yeah, it happens to us. You know, that's what we enjoy. So we signed up for. So,
how much longer you want to do it?
You know what? I don't want to be in there when I'm like 37. You know, I want to be financially able to not, you know, have to fight and have to take fights, you know, pretty soon. So about, 4 more years left maybe.
Yeah.
How will you replace it? It's kind of a high, right, when you're in there?
Yeah, that's a question. I don't know. We'll have to see when that comes down.
Speaking of high, a lot of fighters are in the world of dispensary.
Yeah.
You've been approached about that, or you've ever rubbed doubles with anyone?
Not at all. Not yet. No.
Yeah. One of our guests today, George Roop, he's kind of in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say retired yet because I plan on asking him, what the deal is. But AJ, I believe, finally came clean and said he had something going on in the Great White North in Canada. And I know some people from the MMA world that are just kind of like, doing their thing in Vegas and in the state of Oregon. So, and I'm in no way hating, that's for sure. I heard it's very lucrative.
Yeah, it's very good. So I heard.
Now, are you looking to invest in a business or?
Yeah, of course. That's the ultimate goal. Is to get money. Have it, invest it smart. Not to lose that much. And
what about alcohol?
You
you seem to take a liking to the whiskey the other day. You seem to know your way around the terms or whatever. I'm not calling you an alcoholic. I'm just saying that business is lucrative. Like
alcohol business.
Bar, restaurant, distributor.
Yeah, those are all ideas. Bars, restaurants, anything. Especially coming from the UFC and kind of having a name and a following. It'd be pretty easy to kind of get into that. But.
If you opened your own restaurant, what would the theme be? Not like what I mean is like.
I want to do a wing restaurant.
Wings?
A wing king.
Damn, we were just talking about wings yesterday.
Yeah,
but then
wings.
That's it, huh?
Yeah, turkey wings, duck wings.
Oh wow.
Regular wings.
So your lunch and dinner.
So wings and fries, and I think it'd just be lunch.
Just lunch.
And dinner, yeah. We did some dinner.
There's a lot of places like that out here that just open early and then end at like 2.
Vegas is a different animal because we're 24/7. So you have 1/3 of the workforce that goes 8 to 5. Then you got 5 to midnight or whatever, and then you got the stripper shift. the
24-hour.
Yeah, the noon to like 8 in the morning. So what happens is we have a lot of, for one, sports bars. 2, there's a lot of breakfast joints, and those places, like Go said, they start at 6 a.m. and they're done at 3, and it's breakfast and lunch. But someone's breakfast can be like 2 p.m.
Could be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants. Yeah.
Here in Vegas?
Yeah.
Oh, all the time, man. Do you know, do you have like a specialty with your wings? Like, do you make them yourself?
Yeah, but there's no real specialty. I just get down on the wings,
I want you to
but
try
I've
wings
stayed
again.
away from them.
I think you could like them.
I just don't like the buffalo sauce. Everything else I like.
Oh, there's all kinds of different sauces.
I know that. Yeah. But here's the second thing. I prefer boneless.
That's a chicken nugget.
It's not a wing, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, there's places that call it boneless wings,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Something about, corn, a few times a year. You'll eat corn with your hands and a few other things. But I'm just not, trying to do it all the time.
Oh, you
don't
like
I'm already a messy eater because this half of my face doesn't function as well as this half. So for one, I got napkins everywhere. 2, I'm always afraid of just drooling or whatever. Now throwing the fucking fingers and having those moist wipes, and I mean it would just be a disaster zone where I'm sitting. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, I used to joke with my buddy back in the day, it was very juvenile, more like college days, yeah, man, dare each other on a first date with a girl for an impression, got to go to a wing place and just watch you have to be awkward and the girl forced to be awkward.
Yeah, you get
trying
it all
to eat
out.
wings.
Your fingers
it don't get any worse than that, right?
Hey, let me ask you, your fantasy, not fantasy restaurant, because it would be a legit future plan, but because we actually did a fantasy restaurant draft with Joseph Benavidez, but at this wing joint, the Koreans do a pretty interesting take on their wings. Do you have a Korean fried wings as well?
Blue Ribbon and Cosmo had some. Have you ever eaten there?
No.
Yeah, I would. They're really good.
Was it good?
Yeah, a real deep fried sweet chili sauce.
Yeah, I mean you got to be in the mood for sweet because most of them are sweet, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cosmo's got it down, huh? The
have you seen
cool,
the new
great.
little food court?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You should check it out.
Nice.
It does have a good vibe.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
And all those
got the
escalators in the middle, just crossing into different worlds.
Mm-hmm. It's not that big, so you can be in and out.
Yeah, I'll give it up. And then aren't they the ones that have the pizza place that's supposed to be the top secret?
Yeah, secret pizza.
Top secret.
It's just a wall that opens up, and then all of a sudden there's a pizza place.
And is that a hit, or are they
missing?
Are they missing out on a lot of business?
It's always busy.
Really?
But yeah, especially you would probably eat it and go, eh.
The only legit secret place I've been to, I guess it's a legit secret place because I forgot where it was. Is in New York. Is this it's one of their speakeasy bars called Death and Company. And it's literally you have to do the thing where you knock and the guy.
Yeah.
Man, Manhattan. Manhattan. I want to say not quite Lower East Side. You can pretty much take the L train, get off on 3rd, and just kind of walk it, I think. But yeah, I remember it's the side of a building you wouldn't know, and you go in. It's a nice little place, and yeah, there's just this doormat that's engraved into the ground, the doormat, and that's the only thing that'll tell you that the door's there. And then you don't even see the slider thing till they open it. No, I don't think you need anything like that. It just the girl.
That was the thing back.
The girl I was with
then.
was in the know, but yeah.
Well, we have one here at Mandalay Bay.
We do.
All you do is pull on the book on the bookshelf. It opens up and there's
Really?
a bar. Yeah,
Thursday,
right
Friday, and Saturday.
Now it's Friday and Saturday.
Which now became Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard.
Check it out.
Yeah.
You guys can find that one again, though. That's my problem. I can't find mine again.
Well, y'all think about it though, because we'll be in Manhattan in a few weeks, so I'd like to maybe.
I'll look it up. I'll add that to the list I'm going to hand you.
If I go out for a walk.
I'll add that to the list I'm going to hand you.
All right. Michael Johnson, you're in town for Kamaru, right?
Yes.
Your buddy's fighting in the main event. What, tonight?
Tonight.
I almost said tomorrow night.
In a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you like here for support, or are you like a main training partner, cutting weight with him?
Yeah, I'm here for support.
Yeah.
Here for support, doing some few things, using the PI, of course. Come out here training there, using the facility. It's incredible. Getting some rehab done. So. Coming on MMA Junkie.
All right.
I mean?
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is the rehab top secret, or is it something minor?
No, just something minor.
Yeah. Okay. So that wouldn't.
Just rehabbing my body. We go through a lot. I just fought twice.
Ice baths, massage, all that stuff.
The whole nine. So.
Okay, that's good. Good to hear. That means you could take a fight at any point. Because the thing about you is, you can be on. It can say you're fighting at 232 at the end of the year, or it can say something about. March, you are always down. No one will ever take that one away from you.
Next 2 months, we'll see.
I was curious, did you submit your name when Bektik fell out to face Moicano? Or was that too soon?
We almost did it, but just wasn't the right timing.
Didn't his name come up the other day on the show?
His?
Yeah, I thought.
I matched him up against someone. Shit. Hold on.
Everybody?
No, it was a featherweight. Who came off a win.
I just remember. I thought it was the fighter because I thought was it Rick Clay? No, wait.
No.
I remember because I just remember saying
who's coming off
a win? That
would
be easy. I go, he'd take that in a heartbeat.
Ricardo Lamas.
But we didn't have Lamas pre. We had him pre-fight.
This was this week. This
Rick Glenn did.
Rick Glenn, right?
he said he didn't want to look past his opponent, but
we asked him, can you like see anybody that you would enjoy having a fight with? And he goes, no. He goes, Michael Johnson's pretty good. Because I remember instantly saying, dude, you're gonna have trouble getting Michael Johnson to take a fight.
So that one's it, right? I thought there was one about 2 weeks ago.
Who's he fighting? Yeah, he's fighting.
He missed weight.
He missed weight.
I reached out to him, guys. I reached out to him and I said, listen, I feel terrible because we talked about it for like 10 minutes. It was almost like a jinx, which really it's up to the fighter, But still, I just wanted to reach out just because it was such a long discussion that we had and everything, and it really surprised me to see him lose weight. He's fought 45 times and never lost weight, for one, so that's why he's not going to get slammed through the media because this is just his first time. And but yeah, we spent a while talking about it, and I saw a few people already kind of giving him some crap on social media, and I was like, here we go,
How much did he miss by?
2, right? 2.5?
2.5 pounds, because he's supposed to be 146.
Yeah.
He was 148.5. But when he was here, Michael Johnson, he was really calm, cool, collected, like you right now. But you don't have a fight. You know what I mean? He was just chilling, and I was like, you realize you're fighting this week, right? Not like in a month or anything. He's like, yeah. I mean, my weight is good, blah blah blah. So we spent a little bit of time on that, and sure enough, one of the two fighters was the one that we had on the show, and we spent.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the funny thing is I think people forget that you guys can actually have this. Like, let's say you're UK. We'll use you as an example. You need to get to 146. And let's just say, man, when I land in Vegas, I'm always 156. I got this down. I've been doing it for years, blah, blah, blah. What we always forget is as you get older, there could be a stressor in your life that's triggered, be it a personal relationship or maybe being in Vegas, you ran into the matchmakers and just had you're worrying about your future contract. I don't know, whatever. And what happens is the body just quits. You know what I mean? And it's not like you intended it. It's not like you showed up trying to be unprofessional. Yeah. There's a lot that show up knowing they damn well knew they weren't going to make it.
Yeah,
and then there's others
5 pounds over,
and then there's others where like, holy shit, he or she's never missed, and they honestly really have no excuse other than to realize, you know, maybe my mind wasn't there, and because the body's a trip, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It happens.
So I think that's kind of what happened to him, because he did not look like anyone that was stressing in any way, at least here.
Yeah.
He looked like he was on point, confident in the way he was discussing it and everything, and all of a sudden just.
Sometimes your body just stops, you know, like my last weight cut, you know, for example, I was sitting in the sauna for like 30 minutes and my body couldn't sweat because it was just at a point where it just wouldn't put out anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And then it finally started coming back, and then 10, 15 minutes, you know, I get pulled out and have to go way in. So.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 parallels in what we're talking about here. One, hopefully there's not a jinx we're doing where 2 guys are in studio and then, you know, two 145ers who never miss weight go and miss weight, and Rick Glenn and Michael Johnson. But to your credit, Michael, you came in. You know, you came in close, and we all know the story. You know, Artem honoring that part of the deal and whatnot. But an example you just cited also happened. The only other person aside from Rick Glenn and miss weight was Junkie Kim, who's fighting Antonina Shevchenko.
That was a big miss, right?
It was a big miss. Now
the fight on?
The fight is on,
okay.
But it was dangerous because not only was she 4 over from the 1 pound allowance limit, Antonina was 1 under at 124. So it was flyweight at 125.
Wow.
So it was a 6 pound. I guess they cleared it, but the point, you know, John Morgan was saying, shouts to him on the MMA Roadshow, that, you know, she came in. Granted, it was last minute too, similar to your deal. But she came in grossly over, and not to, you know, not to judge, but, you know, especially in the media, you see enough weigh-ins, and you're in the fight game. Obviously, you got to look at this kind of stuff. You know, she didn't look too drawn out or discomfort.
Like she could have really
at all.
Actually tried it, but she kind of, I'll come in a little bit overweight, and I have to work that hard. And
what time they come into? Is there still time left on the clock to cut? All these things kind of factor in, right? Kind of.
People play games like that, and, you know, people, I think, miss weight on purpose. You know, honestly, obviously, you know, somebody like me, myself, I didn't, you know, try to miss weight. I was in there working my ass off to get it off and got as close as possible. But I think people do take advantage of that. You know, take for like Desmond Green, for instance. I corner him all the time. His few opponents have missed weight, and they've come in and fought. And, you know, I think that's kind of benefited those guys, you know, in that weight, because they're coming in a little bit more energized, heavier, and, you know, they don't have to deal with that much stress. So.
That Bashira's fight especially comes to mind, man. That guy's a tank already, and you give him that allowance.
Big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, really big.
Now he's a welterweight for sure, right? They kind of set him
He's still chomping for the bid. After his last win, he was chomping for the bid. He said he wanted to come in lighter. I don't really think he did. I mean, I don't think he came in lower than 169 for the.
Everyone's in a tough spot too, because you've done a 2-month camp, and then they come to you and go, "Hey, he's 5 over. What do you want to do?" It's like, damn, he's at an advantage. He didn't suffer, but now what do I just do with the last 2 months? I just traveled across the world with my 2 coaches. I got to pay them. I don't get paid. You just
almost got to fight.
Yeah, you do. And then like knowing full well that you may take an L, you know, and
that's
to
half
someone
your pay, which is another issue.
Huh?
Then that's half your pay, which is another issue.
It's another thing, man. It's a really, really tough spot. And that would be a great topic for if and when the fighters do collectively bargain, you know, like to form an association and say, okay, this is what we come to the table with. These are some things we want to know as far as like how this situation gets handled. But I don't know if fighters will ever do that. I don't know if fighters will. No offense to the fighter present, but
I mean,
a lot of them don't want to threaten to stop work, you know, to stand up for themselves as a collective group. That's the problem.
It's a tricky line, you know.
What's your policy? Would you band together with other fighters if it meant, you know, better working conditions or
I mean, it just depends. You know, obviously, you know, things would have to be, you know, agreed upon and work for both parties, but that's either here or there. You know, we're in the fight game, and right now, honestly, it's all about winning, and then you get a little bit of say-so. So you just got to keep doing what you do and, you know, hope things work out for the best.
Yeah. How's Kamaru looking? This is a huge fight for him, man. I mean, as you saw in Dallas, he was already set to fight for a title if one of those 2 guys came in heavy. So he's got a lot to lose here against Rafael dos Anjos, who kind of had a similar shot for the interim title against Covington and came up short. So I don't know that just beating Kamaru puts him at the top, of the table, because you got Santiago Ponzinibbio making some noise. But for Kamaru, he's got a lot to lose. But how's he feeling?
He's feeling good. He's feeling good. He's ready to perform. And that's one thing he does. He comes in and he performs. He knows what he's got to do to go there and get a win, and that's what he's going to do tonight.
Do you expect to finish?
Do I expect to finish? I would like to see it finished. I'm not expecting to finish. Sanjos is tough, but I would like to see that.
How much of the camp, did you train with him?
Not much, because I was off doing my fights and kind of traveling, so I didn't really train with him much. But from the things I saw on the outside looking in, he looks great and ready and prepared.
Is he kind of the G right now in the gym?
G?
Yeah, the top dog, I guess.
I mean, we're all dogs in the gym. We're all the top dogs.
Right.
There's no.
Right now, I'm sorry, I don't mean to come off. Right now, there's not a current world champion. So I guess what I'm saying is someone that's on the close to the cusp. Yeah. I know Chandler's fighting for a title soon.
Yeah, well, he's a champ.
I know AJ had his shots. Volkan had a shot last year. So that's kind of what I mean is who's.
Yeah, he's the one. I guess you can say closest. I'll have mine soon.
How different are you from your teammates in regards to just this week alone for Kamaru? The stuff he does, the way he likes to unwind, all that. Are teammates pretty similar in those regards?
No, we're all different.
Completely different?
People say I'm okay. I think I'm a kind of a weirdo during fight week. I like to sit by myself and just read, but I'm always antsy, really quick and short tempered with people. So I kind of distance myself.
You're always nice to people.
I know, right? Exactly. But during fight week, I'm kind of on edge. The closest it gets, the closest it gets.
Give us an example.
The nice guy just runs away.
Not snap, but I think I know what you're talking about. Fool, don't bother me with that shit. Something like that, right? Or is it more get out of my room?
The funniest story actually is we were in Brazil and I was fighting Edson Barbosa cutting weight, and somebody came in the weight room and said, God, it's so hot in here, and I just snapped and shut your bitch ass up, some crazy shit like that, and he just had to yell out of nowhere. My coach was like, damn, Mike, he didn't even do nothing. I was like, of course it's hot. We're in Brazil. I'm cutting weight. It's going to be a hot room.
And you're in a sauna.
No, we weren't in the sauna.
You weren't in the
just
sauna.
a workout room.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking Captain Obvious walked in and said that, huh?
Right.
In the sauna?
No, but in Brazil, hot.
I'm hearing things this week.
It's hot everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, it is hot in Brazil, that's for sure. It's hotter than a mother. I mean,
I can identify with what he said. I would probably be that guy. Right?
It's hot in here?
Yeah. Shut up, fool. You're not even cutting weight.
You think that's small talk?
It's no shit, it's hot in here.
Was it a fighter, you said?
It was a person.
Was it a person?
Yeah.
Well,
a regular person?
We know that, but what kind of a
Maybe
person?
not a regular person.
Oh, okay. Not a fighter.
Yeah.
He was an earthling.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So I tell you what, we got a lot of guests today. We have George Roop coming on as well in this first hour. Michael Johnson's hanging out with us as a co-host this first hour. He's here to support his buddy, Kamaru Usman, who will be fighting, teammate I should say, tonight against Rafael dos Anjos. Very, very big pivotal fight tonight on Fox Sports 1. I would say that Kamaru just solidifies that #1 ranking should he beat Rafael dos Anjos. But like I mentioned earlier, Ponzinibbio's making some noise. He's won 8 in a row. He's coming off a big finish. You just never know. So you got to go out there. You got to perform. I expect an awesome fight. Plus, we get to see the 2 latest Ultimate Fighter winners, the heavyweights and the women's featherweights. They have their finales as well. All right, so let's take a break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Get the radio channel numbers and a link to listen to your favorite NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, or NHL team sent right to your smart device. Just go to SiriusXM.com/sportstoday and click Add to My Calendar. We're joined by UFC featherweight Michael Johnson here in studio. No fight booked as of yet. Coming off a win in Moncton, Canada against Artem Lobov. So he's chilling, and it sounds like you're going to ride out the holidays, right, Michael Johnson? Or is there a shot at the end of the year, UFC 232 here in Vegas?
We'll see. You know I'm always open to it. So
yeah,
if I can get on the New Year's Eve card, or
so
the
there
end
is
of the
some
year
chatter
card,
then, right? Is it like a 1% chance or a 51% chance?
I would say I don't know a percent at all, but maybe if they got room for me, you know.
But they know you're interested.
Yeah, they know. They know I'm always interested in fights. You know, you guys know that. So
right. I think we've assisted in some matchmaking for Michael Johnson, so that's why you need us to step on the gas, man. I'll start throwing out some names.
Booking.
Where do you put it at then? You put a percentage.
On what?
On whether or not he fights.
Well, I think he would have given us a firm no. Nah, man, no. Thanksgiving was great, and Christmas, I got plans. He was holding back. He was holding back. I'm closer to about 15 to 20% chance.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm at 35.
Yeah? So you think he's kind of holding back on us? He's got news to share?
Maybe. A little bit. I think he's holding back.
We got a little bit of time to poke at him and see if we can figure it out. But right now, we got to shift gears just for a bit. We're going to talk to George Roop, who wants to discuss his latest venture down in his native state of Arizona. And like I was mentioning to you guys earlier, it's kind of a theme that I've seen with a lot of athletes, not just in our sport but different sports. The world of cannabis is becoming very lucrative. But first things first, let's find out, is he still willing to fight, or is he retired? How do we refer to him? What's up, George Roop? How you doing, my man?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Great to hear from you, my man. It's been a while since we caught up, and it was great when you reached out to me, man.
Yeah, always good to be on the show, man.
Yeah. George, let's start off with one quick question. Are you done fighting, by the way, or can you still take a fight booking at any point?
Well, I still could take a fight booking at any point, but no, I'm done. I'm done fighting, and I'm happy with that decision.
Okay, all right, yeah, one hell of a run, man. I always enjoyed covering you from the very beginning, reality show, and your time in the UFC and everywhere else you went. So, congratulations on the career, and I mean, yeah, just let's start with that. It sounds like you're very at peace with your decision too.
100%. You know, throughout my whole MMA career, you know, I have absolutely no regrets. You know, I was never the best athlete, but I gave everything 100%. You know, to my MMA career. You know, I didn't cut any corners. I put myself through, very tough camps, and I was never complacent. So I'm very grateful for my MMA career. Although I did have, mixed success, and I never reached, that level that I really wanted to get at. I could walk away from the sport, very happy, and I'm happy with that.
What's your greatest moment? Korean Zombie, the KO, WEC?
Well, yeah, I think that will always be, what the traditional MMA fans kind of look at is the feather in my cap, as I guess you would call it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the most notable win. But I think my best performance was my performance against Brian Bowles. So I look at that fight as one of my best fights. Josh Grisby, I think I had a really good performance against as well. And I know this sounds, kind of cliche, but I mean, I knew that I was going to finish, the Korean Zombie. I mean, he had pulled out of the fight when Sean had booked it a little earlier, and I waited 3 extra months just because I wanted that fight. So, I mean, I just knew stylistically it was a great matchup for me, how he walks forward. And, I mean, let's face it, man, everybody's human. Nobody can just sit there and take shots. So.
Right.
Very true.
That was 8 years ago. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what you're currently up to. Wow, I was reading the article that you had sent me. You are not playing around. You're not just dabbling in the cannabis business. I mean, you're 440,000 square foot. I thought I had to read it a few times, but you really, really are creating a huge complex here in Tucson.
I am, yes. 440,000 square feet is the ultimate goal over a 3-year process. Initially, it's a 40,000 square foot facility. But just to be clear, I've been in the cannabis industry longer than I've been in MMA, since 2000, and I've always done things on a large scale. I believe when I want to do something, I go all in, for that goal. So I've been in the cannabis industry a very, very, very long time, since I was 18 years old.
What does that mean? You were smoking it, or are you actually? Because this thing's only really become legal, I guess, in the last few years for someone to be, as part of an enterprise. Can you define that?
Yeah, no, of course. I was part of the industry. When I say part of the industry, I've been cultivating cannabis on a large scale.
Oh, wow. For
the last 18 and a half years before it was an industry. So, yeah, the black market, but it's something that I always believed in. And I'm just very grateful now that we see legislation, starting to pass, and, we can kind of, provide, cannabis on the legal level, at least on the state level at this point.
Mm-hmm. How resistant was the state of Arizona to this, to the world of cannabis, I guess, and legalizing it?
Yeah, the state of Arizona wasn't really, the voters are who voted it in 2012. Politicians, and they're all the same. Politics. Break it down into 2 words. Poly means many. Ticks, blood-sucking parasites. So that's just what you have to get through, my man. You have to get through that, and the voters spoke, and you see it kind of coming across the whole United States as a big wave, and hopefully the federal government will, really change their tune and can kind of jump on board so we don't get left behind here in the United States.
Same things happening with gambling. A lot of states are legalizing that in many forms now. But what I've noticed with cannabis, it seemed like it was more of a Western United States theme. Although you're right, it is going to sweep across the whole nation. But for some reason, the West Side has been a lot more lenient.
Yeah, California, Oregon, Washington, it's always been the Wild West out there. It still kind of is. The regulations are just starting to get put into place. Here in Arizona, we operate under a medical program, and we look forward to adult usage being passed in 2020. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see Las Vegas right now. I mean, their adult usage, bill is killing it out there right now in Las Vegas. It's a great market, I think, for the cannabis industry as well.
We also have, so on the panel I have Goes and Dan, co-hosts here, the daily co-hosts, and then we also have UFC featherweight Michael Johnson. We were just talking about what's next for Michael, when he retires, what kind of a business. So what I want to say is, what kind of business would he like to get into or invest in? George, I hope this isn't too personal, but were you able to invest in this just off your winnings in mixed martial arts, or was this like high-level stuff where you had to go out there and get, a bunch of capital raised?
Again, I've always been in the industry, and I want to say, "What's up, Mike Jones?" I've been
Michael Johnson.
Johnson, just I got him.
Yeah,
he joked with the Jones.
Oh, he's joking with the Jones.
Yeah, what's happening? Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm big fan of you, man. So I always enjoy watching your fights. You always put on, great performance, man. So
thank you, boss. Same here, man. I always enjoyed it.
The show. So just to answer that question, I think it's very important for athletes in general. If you look at other athletes just in other sports, where football, whether it be, the NFL, NBA, as an athlete, it's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep. There's a very small window in life, that you can make this money. And, I did a good job with that. And, I've always reinvested all my winnings into the cannabis industry. Again, I've been in the industry longer than it's been an industry, so I've always invested that and turned my money and made it, more. Once the medical program came online, I would invest my money into, into under licenses and under Prop 203 here as well. So I think it's very important for, fighters to understand, or athletes in general to understand, that it's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you keep, and that you live a lifestyle, that really reflects that. I never went out and bought flashy cars. I never went out and bought, just blew money, bought my family a really nice house is what I did, invested it, always made my money, work for me. And I never made the most money in the UFC, but longevity is prosperity, and I stayed in the UFC a long time. And again, I always flipped my earnings in the UFC into that. With the project that I've taken on right now, I didn't have to go out and get big time investors. It's a family funded project, including myself, with monies that I've made. But it's a family funded project, is what it is. There's no big corporate investors whatsoever. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect. But what really got the ball started and rolling was me investing in myself and me investing my own money. I risked all my money, just to put myself in positions and create a reputation for myself in the cannabis industry, where I'm very, very highly sought after.
Wow.
Very cool.
I'm blown away here. Yeah. This guy's very, very responsible. This whole time he's out there, he's whooping ass, throwing them knees at people's foreheads, but little did we know he was creating this powerhouse down south. George Roop, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. We're talking about Tucson Cannabis Campus, envisioned as an eventual 440,000 square foot facility, right now in the beginning stages. And this is really, really fascinating to talk to you, George, about this. But let me share it with the guys here a little bit. All right, Goes, what do you have for George Roop?
George, so I'll admit I'm not the most educated on this subject, but Michael Johnson was telling us a little something about the cannabis oil and how it can make people sleep better. And we know how important sleep is for people. So I got to thinking, we have this UFC PI here in Las Vegas, and sometimes they bring in guest speakers and have them speak to the fighters. If they brought you in and asked you, what are some of the points that you can make for this to be beneficial for fighters, what would be some of those major points?
Well, I mean, I would have a couple points. And the one of the main things would be, financially, fighters, setting themselves up for the future, always thinking about, 10 years down the road. So I think, you see a lot of fighters, they're going home broke, man, at the end of the day. So I think they need to live within their means. And when it comes to cannabis, I've never used pharmaceuticals. I had shoulder surgery in my last fight out in Korea. I broke my leg. I never used any kind of pharmaceuticals, any kind of pain pills, any kind of, pain medication for that. I did use cannabis to supplement for that, and I've always used cannabis. So I think there's a lot of good things that fighters can take away from cannabis. I wouldn't just focus on the treatments and how it helps, because sleep is huge, swelling, and really what cannabis does is it really puts your body in a homeostasis where you can get to that next training level. Cannabis doesn't alleviate all your pain, but it does put your body in a homeostasis where it's more bearable to deal with, these this pain management. But I think it's also important to understand that you can abuse anything. You can abuse cannabis, you can abuse sugar, you can abuse fast food, so everything in moderation is very important.
That third one applies to me.
Yeah, I got to check into that rehab.
Let me turn it over to Dan Tom, our fight analyst. Dan, what do you have for George Roop?
Yeah, George, seconding what you're saying and stringing together a lot of the things you're saying. I've been aware of CBD and its benefits and not against it in any way, but have found myself an advocate and user of it this year after having my first surgery early in the year and recovering it. I'm not a fan of pain pills and you know, the serious ones, the narcotic feelings, they never jive well with me or my body or mindset. And even over-the-counter stuff like ibuprofens, Advils, Tylenols, we're finding out how bad they are even if you take them on a full stomach, you know, the use over time. And they never really did anything for me either. I've got one of those weird tolerances. But CBD's been like a miracle drug in that respect. And whether it was a surgery I had or the broken bone I'm recovering from now. Do you so I guess I'm asking you with your company, since Arizona is a medical use, as you said, as opposed to the adult usage bill we have here in Vegas, does that mean your company cannot do business as far as shipping, or is that just a no-no in general with the federal regulation? I'm a bit ignorant in that regard.
And of course, yeah, there is no in any state, even if per se Nevada, you know, that has an adult usage bill passed, no state can ship outside of their state because then you get into the federal regulations and you're breaking the federal law once you do that. So even if you do have, you live in an adult usage state, kind of like Colorado, California, and Nevada, you cannot ship across state lines. So here in Arizona, it is a medical, it is a medical program, but we do have what's called chronic pain under here, which most of the patients are prescribed their medical card under, is under chronic pain. So, yeah, we can ship all around Arizona until those federal laws change. So our demographic will be everywhere and anywhere in all the retail locations in the state of Arizona until the federal laws change. And then, you know, again, we're building a significant facility, a facility that can, you know, produce a lot of cannabis eventually. And so we'll be prepared to be able to, you know, cross those state lines when those, you know, when that time comes.
And just a quick follow-up anecdotally as far as pain management. I imagine, you know, Arizona, a veteran-friendly, you know, stepfather myself as a veteran, started, you know, using CBD and getting off certain medications. Are you seeing that anecdotally, at least with your interaction, as far as people and what CBD is being popular for in an older crowd as well?
Yeah, big time. 100%. You know, the VA is a big thing. We actually are in the process of putting in a license to help the VA in the whole Southwest region, actually, here, since our facility is significant enough to be able to do so. So we are in the process of putting an application in to be able to distribute cannabis to the VAs around the Southwest region.
Damn.
But it's huge. It's huge, man. You know,
nice.
We're seeing a lot of a lot of things going good with the VA and how beneficial it is, you know, to all these people, all these service members, you know, in the VA. But not only the VA, just people in general, you know. And yeah, we intend on setting up programs where we can make these medicine, you know, available to people who can't really afford it as well. So we're looking to do some big things, you know, out here. And yeah, and just to kind of touch on the CBD, because I know you've been mentioning the CBD a lot. If you see the new research coming out, you know, cannabinoids, which is a cannabinoid is CBD, THC, CBG, so on. I don't want to get too much into it because I can nerd out on this for a long time, make your fuzzy little head pop, you know, but you see an entourage effect, you know, starting to be more of the case instead of just CBD isolate. So I would say if you're leaning towards just a CBD product, you want to really look for full spectrum CBD rather than a CBD isolate, which doesn't bring on, you know, the entourage effect.
All right. Like I mentioned earlier, we have Michael Johnson here with us. Michael, we going to get in this business or what? You put up 10 grand, spot me 10 grand, and we'll get something going, right?
Yeah, we're on the phone with the man right now.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'll be down, of course. Sure, why not? It sounds like he's right on track with it. You know, George, congratulations, by the way. You know, it sounds like you're on the right path. You know, and I'm glad to see you're happy and have something to keep you busy and keep going after fighting, because that's one big thing that a lot of guys typically get lost on. You know, we're done fighting or we're done playing your sport, and you end up being bored and with nothing to do. So you're definitely trying to make a change. You know, so I appreciate it, and you know, keep on.
Yeah, true that, man. Yeah, I think it's just as well as I do. You know, MMA fans, man. You know, they're like your ex-girlfriend, man. They love you when you're hot, and they love to kick you when you're down, man. You know, so I think that just in general, you know, athletes need to hold their values in the right places. I think a lot of people get to the UFC and they think that, you know, this is a forever thing, you know, fighting at the big stage, and they hold all their values and they reflect themselves as I'm a UFC fighter, I'm an MMA athlete, you know, and you know, there's downfalls to that. You know, you'll never stay on the top. You see the evolution of this sport. You see these young killers coming in the cage right now. These cats have been training since they were 12 years old, maybe even younger, you know, and now they're starting to train like real athletes, you know. They're not going in there and banging it out on a daily basis. You know, they're really starting to train like true athletes. So I think it's important that athletes, you know, hold their values in the right places. And one place I've always held my value is in my family. You know, I've never defined myself as a UFC fighter. If somebody asks me, hey, what do? You know, my answer is, well, I'm a husband, I'm a father, you know, I mean, and that's kind of how I, you know, reflect, you know, upon myself.
Interesting stuff, George. Hey, great catching up with you, my man. I want to do a part 2 because I got more questions that I want to ask about the business. But in the meantime, I think it's great to know just, you know, your involvement and the future and all your plans. And now we got a clear definition of you being retired. So I think a lot was accomplished. But thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a good day.
All right, you too, George. Wow. That was really, really cool.
Costco going over there, right?
Yeah, I mean, just to see his vision is really, really interesting. But it's just something that I've been hearing a lot, you know, that this is a business that is going to be booming. It's already booming for some, and it's going to boom even further because all the states are going to regulate it for adult usage and medical usage. Something to look at. All right, it's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Let's see. Up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right.
Oh, the clip? I have the clip.
Start.
I have the clip.
You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
This holiday season, we've wrapped up some of our favorite channels in a VIP experience that you can win. Experience the joy. Choose from some of the six VIP experiences that you can win, like Fight Nation's trip to WrestleMania. 6 grand prizes will be awarded. For official rules and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/VIP before December 14th. No additional purchases necessary to enter or to win. Trip to WrestleMania. Interesting. I know a lot of people would like that one. All right, Michael Johnson, I know our time's winding up here. Who do you like in Holloway and Ortega?
Holloway.
Holloway? Okay.
Yeah, Holloway.
And then now we got some names like Aldo and Edgar that haven't been booked. We know Moicano's stepping in. He'll be at that fight card and ready to go if one of the two aren't ready to go. Mendez and Volkanovski are fighting each other. Bektik just pulled out because he's hurt. I think I've thrown this your way, Zabit. Did you warm up to that one?
This way. We talked about it. We said it might happen, it might not. So we're just waiting. Him, Aldo, whoever, somebody.
Swanson?
They got to be. I mean, I gotta get back up to the top, so they got to be at the top.
Swanson?
Close to the top. If he wants to, absolutely.
In Anaheim. That's a great
That's
fight.
what I mean.
I'm thinking those
January,
that's in
that's
January.
perfect. Yeah.
They cover so much ground with their striking that it's gonna be like a phone booth fight, right?
Yeah,
and
but I like them
pay-per-view,
both.
so
Now I
it's a
gotta
big
fucking
cage.
pick who. I gotta pick a winner. It sucks, man.
Open up a
Pay-per-view
pay-per-view card with
Flip a
that
coin.
fight.
Oh, yeah.
One, yeah. Yair Rodriguez just came off a win, but he's
not
so
fighting for
banged
another,
up.
like 4
Exactly.
months, 5
yeah.
months. So he's gonna be out for a while.
All right. Well, listen. Thanks for reaching out and hanging out with us. I love it when you do that, and we always enjoy having you here. So I hope you have a nice weekend. Good luck to your teammate Kamaru Usman.
Thank you guys.
And hopefully one of these fights gets made for you.
We'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm
All
sure
right.
you guys will see me soon.
All right, folks. That's the first hour down. We still got another one to go. It's SiriusXM on MMA Junkie on SiriusXM Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close, and we'll be back in about 60 seconds. It's the top of the hour break.
Someone pour it in, make it a dirt dance floor again. Say your prayers and stop it out when they bring that chorus in. I beat it out.
All right, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. 2 down, still 3 more guests to go. Jake Ellenberger will co-host the last 30 minutes of the show. He'll stop by. We're also going to talk to Martin Lewandowski, the CEO of KSW, and Yves Edwards will join us in a couple minutes. But right now, let's get one of our callers in, Brandon from Louisville. What's up, Brandon? How you doing? Brandon from Louisville. What's
I'm
up,
not
bud?
Brandon from Louisville, but good morning, gorgeous George and Goes. How y'all doing today?
Jeffrey from L.A. What's up, bud?
Hey, still breathing. Thank you for asking.
Nice. There you go.
I want to start over.
I like hearing that. All right.
Brandon from Louisville.
Well,
Whatever.
that's what the producer wrote, so I just went with that.
Hey, maybe it's time to get a new producer, guys. I'm just kidding.
What's on your mind, buddy?
Well, he's gone now.
Oscar De La Hoya's event.
Did you like or
So
not
Oscar
like?
De La Hoya, here's what he said about MMA. The current structure is terrible. I've been talking to many fighters in MMA, and it's ridiculous what they get paid. It's crazy. It gets me sick to my stomach, so I'm going to start Golden Boy MMA for a reason, and it's going to start with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz to pay them correctly, to pay them what they deserve. Now, I'm going down the pay scale here. We got guys getting $2,000. Guys are getting one guy got only $1,500, $1,250. Now UFC veterans, Gleason Tibau, made 10 and 10. He made a tenth of what he made in his last UFC fight, basically. Efrain Escudero, $10,000. He was an Ultimate Fighter winner. Tom Lawler, why is this so great for fighter pay? What the hell is Oscar De La Hoya talking about? Trashing UFC and the pay structure there. The pay structure for this event is a joke. Tito Ortiz made even less than what he made for his last UFC fight. Chuck Liddell made half of what he made. Now, maybe they're getting, more cut of the revenue, but I doubt this event did good in terms of revenue. And then Tito Ortiz's post on Instagram was a joke. You sold the company for over $4.5 billion. How much did Chuck and I get? Look, did the UFC not give Chuck Liddell an office job after he retired for however many years until the sale to WME, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, no, I doubt you didn't get any of the $4.5 billion, Tito, but you did get paid millions of dollars, and you're not building jack crap for the fighters with clown shows like this. So Oscar De La Hoya needs to shut up, and Tito, you need a freaking reality check, man. And Gorgeous George,
hey, how you been?
I don't have meltdowns, okay? The last time I had a meltdown, my man, the last time I had a meltdown,
you're halfway there to
was
this one.
when the Houston Astros beat the Dodgers at the World Series in L.A.
Well, but I'm okay with that. I'm not a Dodgers fan, so that's more of a burn on goes if you think about it.
Yeah. What the hell did I do?
No.
I miss this
great
guy's
to hear from
entrance
Jeffrey,
music.
though. Huh?
I miss this guy's entrance music.
Yeah. Still breathing. I totally forgot about that. All right. You know, I'll just say this real fast because we have our guest ready to go. I think Oscar just didn't know what he was getting into. It's one thing to say it, but I think clearly what he meant was, because Oscar comes from the boxing world, so what he meant was at the top, I want to make the money better for that. In boxing, if you look at boxing undercards, they're paid very poorly too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all at the top, and I think that's what he meant. Oscar was a star in his world, a megastar in his world, and so I definitely believe that what he meant was anybody that headlines my show, I want to make them some money. But I don't know. I don't think he knew what he was getting into because it's obviously not that easy. You don't just turn it on and go, here we go.
Hell no.
But yeah, the undercard, they're going to fall under that broad blanket statement that he said. And yeah, when you look at it, you're going to go, they're not getting paid, but I don't think that's what he meant. But again, that's on him. He's got to live with those words. So we'll see how.
He's not losing any sleep over it, trust me.
I don't think so. And who knows if he'll do another one again. I don't know. All right, let's move on then. We'll save that for another day. Let's talk to our guy, Yves Edwards. Done a fabulous job for PFL this year. PFL had their regular season, playoffs, and now they have their finals. The championship, it's called, on December 31st at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden. Six finals is what we have. I'm not really calling them championship fights because no one's going to become their incumbent champion or their undisputed champion, but they're going to be the champion of that regular season, just like in other sports. And Kayla Harrison will be featured as well. Let's do it. What's up, Yves Edwards? How you doing?
I'm good, guys. I like how you introed me, and you said all my talking points, man. Now it's I'm just gonna be here, okay.
And folks, that's Yves Edwards. That's a spot on MMA Junkie.
Thanks for having me out.
Yeah. Hey, wow, this is incredible, right? I mean, 6 tournament finals. 6 individuals get to win $1 million. Even the runner-ups take home $200,000. This all seemed like a pipe dream years ago when we heard it in Vegas that it might happen. It wasn't even PFL at the time. I think it was still World Series at the time when we were hearing this, Eve, back in 2012. Yep. But now it's finally here, man. What a ride, huh?
Yeah, this season has been fun, man. There's a lot of drama throughout the season too. It was fun for me because I have this mind that analogizes everything. So I see the first round of the weight classes fights, and then the second round they have to pick up the pace. Some guys have to score more points to get in, be guaranteed a playoff shot. Then the playoffs is a different story. I mean, like the heavyweight playoffs, you know. Josh Copeland is sitting at home hoping that he makes it into the playoffs. He's watching the Kyle Allencar fight. Somebody gets a stoppage, he's out. The fight starts off hot, but nobody gets a stoppage. He makes it in as an 8 seed. He just slides in, and now he's in the finals. He has an opportunity to make $1 million, man. That's huge. Like, this doesn't happen outside of in mixed martial arts anywhere else. I'm so excited for these guys.
Yeah. How about Sean O'Connell, man? He had an interesting story because I think his name is Bazaget, the Russian fella who throws some hands, man. He's got some heat. He actually lit up O'Connell, I think, at the last regular season. And so O'Connell got in, but not as one of the higher seeds. Like Vinny on the other side is like #1. He hasn't gotten out of the first round. But now these two are facing off. Yet in O'Connell's fight, in his playoff fight, he was down 10-9 in the first, which that was the key round. Because remember, if he 10-9s Dan Spawn, Dan Spawn advances because that was the tiebreaker. Instead, he goes out there and hammers out some 10-8s. That was really, really interesting. And I guess what I wanted to get at, Eve, was all these different rules and tiebreakers and, you know, seeds. Did you enjoy it, and are you going to contribute to how they can maybe, you know, tweak it in any way the next year? Is that something you're interested in seeing?
I'm definitely interested in seeing some tweaks. I mean, before the season started, we all spoke. You know, the higher ups they wanted some input from myself, from Boss, from Randy, and they tried to tweak the rules to make things more entertaining, but also keep the fighters in mind first. So there's some things that we've seen after the season that I believe can and will be addressed and changed. But I like the fact that some of those things happen. You know, what you were mentioning was in the first round of the playoffs, it was a 2-round fight, and because, you know, commissions won't let you fight more than 5 rounds in a night. So the first round, if you're fighting 2 fights in a night, the first round is 2 fights. First round of the playoffs is a 2-round fight, and the second round of the playoffs is a 3-round fight. And because of the 2-round fight rule, you don't have an overtime. So the winner of the first round wins the round. Should it go to a decision, right? Wins the fight. Should it go to a decision? And that changes the strategy actually while you're there in the cage. You know, you come to the cage with a strategy, but you have to make those adjustments. And this is you can be athletic, you can be powerful, you can be all of those things. But if you're not a thinking man in fighting, you're going to have a lot of problems. And this kind of brings a thinking man to the forefront of the fight game. So I like that. I like how important that is. I like how guys have to adjust their strategy sometimes mid-fight. And it's a little more consequential than having to adjust your strategy in a 3-round fight that is just, you know, to get the win bonus versus to move into the next round of the playoff and have that opportunity at $1 million.
What was the biggest surprise for you in terms of a fighter that made noise in 2018? Can you narrow it down to one, or do you have a couple?
There's a couple, but if I had to pick the top 2, it would be Ray Cooper III. His first fight against Jake Shields. You know, there's all kinds of questions about that guy, and then you know that the passion from having the chance to avenge his father's loss against Jake 14 years ago. That was a big deal, and he came out and he dominated Jake Shields, and it was like, okay, this kid is legit, but there was a lot of emotions going into that fight. But then you see the rest of his fights throughout the PFL season, and nothing changed. He's just as vicious every single time he goes out, and he has so much power. When I stand next to Ray Cooper, I forget that he's a welterweight because, I mean, you know, when he's in the cage and shirt's off, you know, you can see his mass, but he's not a tall guy. He's about 5'8", And when he's in there with the guy who's Jake is taller than I am. But when he's in there with Jake looks small. Jake doesn't look as big as he does outside of the cage to him. So like that personality that kind of shines through in the way he fights. And then the other guy that stood out to me was Vinny Magalesh. I mean, Vinny was one of these questionable guys in the past. You know, his jiu-jitsu was great. His conditioning wasn't always the best, and he wasn't necessarily in there for a fight. And he came into this PFL season, and he's a completely different guy. You know, he claims that he's training 4 times a day, and he looks like it. And he looks more cut, ripped, jacked, more aggressive. He's going after his submissions, but he's comfortable on his feet also. Vinny Magalesh has become a really dangerous guy, man. And I think he's turned his life and possibly his career completely around.
No doubt. We're talking to Yves Edwards, part of the broadcasting team over at PFL. PFL 11 goes down on December 31st with 6 tournament finals. Heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, and featherweight. The winners get $1 million. The runners-up get $200,000. Kayla Harrison, one of their superstars, and part-time broadcaster. She's also featured on that card. All right, Goes, what do you have for Yves Edwards?
I'm in a pickle, George. I have to see Yves next week, and I want to ask him a question that doesn't get me slapped upside the head.
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
gonna try and ask this as best as I can. Yves, you are one of you're one of the most down-to-earth, just mellow guys. And I was thinking about you this morning because I was thinking about what PFL's doing, and you're right. It's very big for the fighters. A prize like this at the end of the rainbow, you haven't really seen much of that in this sport. That being said, you being a part of all this, how do you not get bitter at some points? Because I could argue that maybe these fighters wouldn't be in that situation without fighters like yourself, like Boss Rude and Randy Couture, putting that stage forward for them. It might not have been there if it hadn't been for guys like you guys, and those paydays weren't really around too much for you guys. Do you ever look at that situation, and how do you not get angry at that?
I don't get angry at it because the PFL is a different organization. You know, it shows the growth of the sport of mixed martial arts. A long time ago, and the prime of my career, there were only 2 places that you can go to make money, and that was the UFC and Pride. I was fortunate to fight in both those organizations, but at the same time, the money was nowhere near what it is now. The eyes upon the sport weren't anywhere as close to the millions of eyes that we have now. So, like I said earlier, I like to analogize things. So it's like I look at myself as one of those guys who helped to build a house, you know, and you build that house for your children. And when your children are there, you want them to take care of it. And that being said, I like what the PFL is doing because it's now an extension to that house. The UFC is the biggest part of the house, of course. We all can agree on that. But with the PFL coming in, giving these guys these opportunities to make some real money, that's a good thing. And that being the case, it also lets these young men and women understand their value. And them having that value now, they can start making demands. I believe that these young guys need to have a seat at the table. All these things about a union and coming together, so that they can have a voice, especially where the UFC is concerned. It's disappointing that all the obstacles are in the way to stop that. But eventually, it has to happen. And when these young men and women understand that they are the product, and without them, it's not going to be the same. We saw it in the NFL, you know, a lot of guys just decided we're going to sit out, we're walking. And what did they do? They brought in replacements. Well, when you have the highest echelon of athlete in there and you start bringing in replacements, it's not, the quality goes down. And when it gets to the point that guys can do that, then the house that we built is going to get renovated, and it's going to be one of those things where the value really, really goes up, and all these young athletes get valued and get paid the way they should.
Good stuff there. I like how he moved over into the real estate world, which is very, very lucrative. Good stuff from Yves Edwards. And Yves, like Go said, we'll see you in about a week out at Joint Base Langley, Eustis. So we want to thank you for joining us to go visit the troops on the morale visit that we're doing next week. And thanks for stopping in and you know, keeping this thing going here with PFL. I know you guys are kind of like on a little 2-month hiatus since the playoffs are over, but we've been bringing in a lot of fighters, a lot of guests, because I think it's important. I think it's been big for the PFL, and we're going to continue doing it throughout the month of December, leading into the tournament final on December 31st. NBC Sports Network, 7 p.m. Eastern Star Time. But for now, I think we did a good job keeping it nice and warm, the topic. So thanks, Eve, for your time as always, and we'll see you in about a week.
I will see you guys in a week, man. New Year's Eve, though, that's going to be some fun in Madison Square Garden. I cannot wait. And when we go out to Langley or to Virginia, I want to roll with you guys. I want to see how that goes.
If you can get through goes, then all right, I'll give you a few minutes on the mat. Well, we'll see how that goes first. All
right, guys.
Take care. We'll see it. All right, folks.
Yourself.
All right, that's Yves Edwards. Awesome person, man. Great fighter, great broadcaster, great person. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Martin Lewandowski, the CEO of KSW. KSW 46 is this weekend. Narcan versus Khalidov 2. The fights take place tomorrow, and you can catch them on DAZN or Fight TV. We'll talk about all that when you come back. And by the way, that's a 1 p.m. Eastern Start Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. Remember, they're fighting in Poland.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
For nearly 1 out of 8 Americans and 1 in 6 children, hunger is a reality. Support Why Hunger's annual Hungerthon donation drive. Go to SiriusXM.com/Hungerthon and see items you can bid on now, like hang out in studio with Busted Open's Dave LaGreca along with Bully Ray or Mark Henry during their live show. Or make a donation and receive a gift like a Tom Morello Hunger is a Crime hat, a John Lennon Imagine There's No Hunger hat, a Bruce Springsteen Land of Hopes and Dreams pin, and more. All right, we're starting to wind down here. We're expecting Jake Ellenberger to roll through. He's going to co-host the last 30 minutes with us, hang out, catch up with him. Recently retired Jake Ellenberger. So, but literally one of the nicest guys in the sport of that we've met in our time of covering the sport of mixed martial arts.
He's a good what-if guy, too.
He is, yeah. I'll tell you what, right now, since we may have missed out on KSW CEO Martin Lewandowski, why don't we do our daily debate? Even though I'd love to get Jake's opinion, you just never know, man. I don't want to push it all the way to the end. So let's do it right now. All right. The question, guys, is Bellator has back-to-back events this weekend. If the promotion added a fighter to its broadcast teams, you know, like as the third man in the booth, who would you prefer? Here are your choices. Frank Mir, Chael Sonnen, Josh Thompson, or Joe Warren. Dan Tom, who would you like?
You know, Chael Sonnen's persona kind of, I think, sometimes maybe get, you know, not gets the best of him. It's a good thing. I'm not saying that as a negative, but I don't know if his positives get enough credit. He's a great commentator, but I've always been a fan of Frank Mir since the WEC days. He still does a great job on commentary, and would like to see him in that spot more. So I'll go Frank Mir.
All right, here's the thing. I think they're all good, but I think you'd have opportunities to hear a lot of these guys in different settings. As for Joe Warren, you don't really get that opportunity to hear him too often, so I would like to have him on that panel. I think he'd be a lot of fun.
Ah, you stole my thunder. Yeah, you're right. And I don't know if he would be the permanent guy, but I would like to put him in there just to see, because he's such a little bit of a hothead, but he's entertaining in his own way. Like, you could tell he would be someone that would like call out. He tapped because he quit. He didn't want to be a champion. You know, like he'd give you some of that raw type of announcing that comes from him because of his success at high levels of wrestling, and of course a dual weight class champ for Bellator. So I would love to see what he does. I got to agree with Dan. I think Mir's pretty polished and tough to beat. He did it in WEC, and then he's flown all over the world. Recently, he's been host at the host desk for Bellator.
Former champion.
Yeah, I mean, you know that, and of course I think you have one head start when you know the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, because that's the one you have. That's the kind of like the toughest one to explain to the new audience. So that's probably the best decision. But I hear what you're saying, man. I think Warren would be a character. Hey, this is how the voting came in, guys. 1,100 and change voted, and 70% said Chael. I think Chael's more of a host with like Jay Glazer.
Yeah.
Versus being, at cage side
he's
or whatever.
Good at both roles.
Yeah. I mean, he's.
But I see where you're coming from.
An amazing entertainer. Yeah, he got 70%. 21% went to Frank Mir. 7% went to Josh Thompson. 2% went to Joe Warren. There you have it. There's today's daily debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie Radio team. Thanks for participating, Junkie Nation, our readers of the site, our listeners of the show. All right, let's take one more quick break. All right, and that way we can just coast to the finish line. Jake Ellenberger has popped in, and he'll be co-hosting these last 30 minutes with us. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
the set of the Fast and the Furious for being too loud and too good looking. Once again, here's Gorgeous George and Goes.
Well, it looks like we're not going to be able to connect with the KSW CEO, Martin Lewandowski. He called in the first hour. There was just a little bit of confusion. They're out in Poland for their KSW 46 show, Narcan and Kaladov 2. But, hey, a quick plug. You can watch the fights on Fight TV wherever DAZN isn't available. And if you have DAZN, then obviously you're already prepaying by having DAZN, $10 a month. You get boxing, you get Canelo, you get Bellator, KSW. I think they have 6 MMA promotions altogether. And, of course, they've also signed Anthony Joshua as well. So lots of DAZN offers a lot. So, again, if you have DAZN, then you're hooked up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. Otherwise, look for them on Fight TV. A couple quick plugs here for all of our guests. Michael Johnson on Twitter at Follow the Menace. George Roop, we talked to him earlier, at George Roop. Yves Edwards at the Jitsu Master. And Martin Lewandowski at Martin KSW. All right, Jake Ellenberger, recently retired UFC welterweight, joining us here in studio at Ellenberger MMA. What's up, Jake? How you doing?
I'm good. How about you guys? It's been
good,
a while.
Man. Yeah. And you're here to support your teammate, right? I guess.
Yeah, I got a couple friends fighting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So not just the Armenian. Who else you got?
Right. Well,
Dos Anjos.
I've trained a lot with already. I know Usman well too. Both guys. I'm friends with both guys. So.
Oh yeah. How do you know Usman?
So he wrestled with my brother Joe at Nebraska Kearney in college. They were teammates, and my brother coached when he was wrestling. So, yeah, know him well. I actually wrestled him a couple times in college, in a couple opens. But, yeah, good guy. Know him well, though.
That's nice, yeah. I didn't know that. And, when you told me that you were here with Edmund, the first thing I thought was Edmund Taravidian, because he was your trainer for a few camps. But you meant Edmund Shabazian.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. Are you... they say sometimes you get more nervous for your family members, which your brother Joe fought many times,
sure,
or your friends versus yourself. So you have those type of nerves for your friends tonight?
No, not really. It's more of exciting. Especially this kid Edmund. He's young. He's hungry. He's like, I know what he's feeling right now. He's being that young lion. It's exciting though, because he's been training since he was like 10. He's got a bright future.
Damn, 10 years old.
Yeah, and so, I was with him last night. Like, he's good energy and such a good mood. Like, he's just so excited to be here. And it's like you kind of forget about those. Like, I guess just going away for a fight. I've had so many fights, but you see that young, like I said, that young lion in him. But it's exciting though. I wouldn't say nervous.
Is this going to be your first event where you'll be kind of like cage side since your retirement, and have you thought about like just already being in Vegas and going through maybe some of those motions? Does it get that fire? What kind of goes through your head?
Not really. I'm always a fan first. I've always been. I like watching fight, especially. I should say I like watching people that I know. Like, especially friends, guys I've been in the trenches with. Dos Anjos and Usman as well. Like, it's cool to just see him. That's to see how it play out, but. No, it's more just fun. It's more relaxing. It's more fun for me. So I'm not fighting. My brother's not fighting. It's easy to just sit back and have a good time.
Yeah. Can I add in something on an Edmund Shabazian? Sure. You said since 10 years old. I think I saw a video. Maybe couldn't have been a couple years past that. He looked about 11 or 12, but it was an interesting guy. It was a YouTube video, and he's being interviewed at the Glendale Fight Club with one of his friends, who I believe they still train together and grew up together, brothers, if you will, maybe. But he actually predicted. He's in an interview. He predicts that he'll be in the UFC, and the interview goes, "What weight class?" And like kind of a throwaway question, but he goes, "Middleweight." And here he is today, making his UFC debut at middleweight. That's pretty crazy, right?
I know it. It's exciting, and to see how, to know like this kid's gonna grow. He's still growing. He's 21. He's so young. It's like he could be a future 205er. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But he's got a bright future, like I said. But so my first experience with Edmund was when I was getting ready for Robbie Lawler. This was 2014. When TJ was fighting Barao, and Edmund has me spar Edmund, and I think he's 16 at the time, something like that. But I was like, God, who is this kid? Like, and why the hell is he so good? Like he wasn't like known as a boxer or even an MMA yet, but just tougher than hell, and he could move well. His awareness was, you could sense that right away in sparring. His awareness was really kind of an intangible where you're like, this guy knows what he's doing. So it's cool to see, that road to where we are now. Here we are in his UFC debut, and it's like I said, he's been training 10 years now. It's exciting.
Are you closer to either Usman or RDA, or is it about the same? And will you just is there even a side to take here at all?
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I've known Usman for a longer period of time. This goes back to again, college days. When my brother was wrestling with him. No, yeah, like I said, I've known him well. We've competed against each other. Yeah, so they're both good friends. RDA is a good friend of mine too. It's just one of those fights, that made the best man win, and it's definitely an interesting fight. And again,
hopefully they share a bite of the night or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They make a lot of money and both have a good accounting for themselves.
Right.
But we realize that someone's got to win.
Definitely, these two politicians over here. It's impossible to go straight down the line. I've learned this over and over.
So you think he's actually really favoring one or the other?
But what I will say is he may not know that. When the fight starts, there's going to be a feeling like
sure.
Remember when the Vegas Knights came here? Mm-hmm. When the Kings came to play the first time, that was my team growing up. I said, you know what?
Love the Kings.
I love the Kings, but as soon as that game started, I was rooting for the Knights, and I could just tell it happened. I didn't want it to happen, but it happened. I think for you don't have to say, but it may happen when you're watching that fight. You're just going to feel a certain way. I think it's impossible to go straight down the middle.
It is. I trust me. I can be rational. I can be objective, and I would say Dos Anjos probably has more tools, maybe more ways to win, if you will. But it's a huge opportunity for Usman, being in the top 5. He could be fighting for the title next fight. We'll see. RDA is a former world champ. He's been there. He's obviously a veteran and wants to get that title shot back. But and like I said, I've trained both. I know Coach Perillo. We have the same coach too, and it's simple. If RDA is moving forward, he has a great shot. If he's passive, if he fights him like he did Colby, it's going to be not going to go his way. But that's just me being objective.
Mm-hmm. And when you say that, I know a lot of people go, yes, pressure. We always talk about that, pushing forward. But at the same time, isn't that what Usman wants? Like, he wants to take the fight to the ground.
Sure.
Right? And so sometimes we feel like the lesser of the two wrestlers may want to move around more, throw hands, throw kicks.
Right.
But can you explain why there is a fine line between doing that but also pressuring the other fighter?
Yeah. Well, in simple forms, offense wins fights, like anything else, like any sport too. Offense wins. And I would even say, just from the experience that I've had, when somebody's moving forward and in your face, like if I was pressuring somebody, they become more predictable. You know what they're going to do, especially a wrestler. He's going to shoot, and of course he's trying to get that timing down. But if you can make him react to you and kind of dance to your music, if you will, that makes him a little easier to read, a little more predictable. And like I said, yeah.
Which means you're more ready to prevent the shot as well.
Right.
Okay.
You're already expecting it, but since, if the other guy's, like I said, if he's moving to your action,
right,
you're kind of one step ahead. But it's a chess match. But
it is, man. Fucking fighters I bet on are losing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, stay away, throw hands, throw a shin, a knee or something, but don't get taken down. And then they'll go out there and fucking get taken down.
I know.
I'm like, that's why I'm asking you that question about pressure, because I know there's just got to be a happy medium between pressuring, keeping them on their toes, winning that round, because the judges are watching. That's a tiebreaker at some point. But also not walking into like the easy takedown. And then actually that wrestler that gets them down is kind of exhausted, but they're able to get down and they're able to throw some elbows and win a sloppy round and win the fight. And really, I don't know that they were the better all-around fighter, but it happens a lot in the sport, and that's why I was curious about that.
We could even bring up that Vulcan fight with the Black Beast. You remember that? Caught him in the last. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Like, self-awareness is so. It's not very common in the sport. Let me put it that way. And maybe me being out.
Oh, you're talking about Alexander Volkov.
Right.
Okay, against Derek Lewis. When you said Volkan, I thought you meant Volkan Ozdemir. It threw me off. All right.
But
I speak Jake.
Just the self-awareness, like, in strategy. It's not like. That's the thing about MMA is fighters are just trained to just do this. Just go, just be a machine and just fight. But so much of nowadays, like I can see, especially me taking a step back and looking at the game now from a little bit of a different perspective, you can tell that strategy plays such a huge role. Like both these guys, Usman and RDA, either guy could win this fight, and no one would be like, okay, that's not a surprise. Either guy can win this fight. Strategy can play a huge role. Timing's going to play a huge role. It being 5 rounds is another factor. If it was 3 rounds, I'd definitely be leaning towards Usman. It's 5 rounds. That makes it interesting. RDA can hold an incredible pace. He's 55er, coming up to 70 now. I've sparred with him. The guy's out. You look at the fight with Lawler, his output is insane. So, there's no gas tank problems there. It's a smaller cage. Is that an asset for Usman? I mean, there's a lot of variables here, but yeah, can I pick that fight? I can't pick the fight. Like I said, if RDA is moving forward, he's dangerous. He's going to be hard to beat, but he's got to stay in his face, and he's got to, in a way, make Usman a little more predictable. But it's an interesting fight, though. We'll see.
Tremendous. All right, now I want to get personal and uncomfortable.
Yes.
I really, I guess part of me was happy that you chose to retire. I would just back you no matter what you did. But if that was your choice, then okay, because you had such a great run, But here's the uncomfortable thing: when not just you, but when a lot of fighters retire, I go and I look at their interviews and see how their speeches, and your speech is perfect, man. I really like, at least, that's my first feedback from Jake's retirement, from some of these wars. You're explaining yourself well, collecting your thoughts. So thank God, that's going well. And I don't know if that's something that you stayed on top of your neurological exams or whatever, but you've been flowing today, and that right there makes me happy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's me arguing with my kids and my girlfriend Mackenzie, but no shit. I appreciate that, though. Yeah, it's tough. People don't want to have an honest conversation with themselves. Like, people ask me, if you would have won that fight, would you have retired? Like, I don't know. It didn't. You can't always. It's not always on your terms or when you want to go. But unfortunately, if reactions aren't the same as they once were, or you can't accept a shot you once could, you got to have that honest conversation with yourself. But I appreciate the words. Thanks, George.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that came off okay. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, no, because I don't know. I don't know. Fighters just kind of like media and fans that keep their distance. Hey, we know. We're not dumb. We know that I want to be able to hold my kids and speak to my kids and do this. You often hear them say that, but some people just take that the wrong way. But yeah.
And here's the other side. A lot of fighters, it just becomes their identity. That's all they are. That's all they know. And it's like, okay, if I'm not. I won't name names. If I'm not this guy, then I'm nobody.
Right.
It's like that's the whole kind of false narrative that in a way it builds.
Week.
Well, so let's go to that.
Perfect example.
So I saw Chuck, right, and the punches that initially gave him some trouble. I was concerned with. They didn't seem like to be the hardest punches he's ever faced before, and yet he was already starting to, go out. But what I did enjoy seeing was after the interview, when he was given a chance to speak, not just in the cage, but in the back, he was able to collect his thoughts, explain himself. He wasn't stuttering. He wasn't having, moments of non-clarity. And I think he takes a lot of shit, on the forums, as far as have you seen Chuck? Oh my God, he's forgetting his words. He's this and that. And I'm like, that's not the Chuck I see. I think he still has it together. And then we're 8 years removed from the last fight / KO.
Sure.
But yeah. So I was in, man. I knew they were past their prime, but they had heat. So I was into the fight when I finally got around to seeing it. And then as soon as they lose, it happens with all these fights, is I always feel bad for the guy that lost. And I just want to see that they're able to start dusting themselves off and ready to either take on their next fight or do whatever they want to do with their lives. And I was happy to see that with Chuck.
I know it.
Or did you guys see something different?
Well, I like what he said about sometimes that identity just becomes a person. And if Chuck Liddell isn't the Iceman, who is he, right? Like when you see Randy Couture, he's doing movies, acting. Chuck's dabbled into some of that, but it's been 8 years, and I think after a while, some fighters may do it for money. I think some fighters just do it to recapture being able to walk out and hear all those people scream your name and be the Iceman.
Oh, he was enjoying that.
Yeah,
when he was walking out, his face lit up, and I think I said it on the show, he was living. You know what I mean? But if you follow him on social media, he takes pictures with his kids, his wife, and he looks pretty happy, you know, doing that as well. But yeah, he doesn't seem to have as much of an active life as like a Randy Couture, you know, like with the movies and things like that. So yeah, maybe
it's tough too because a lot of people are like, why is Chuck coming back? Why is he fighting? I get that you know, his age. I get all the questions coming up, and some people are saying he needs the money, and it's like, I'm not so fast. I don't know, but again, he's had his foot in the door. He's done a little bit of film, little acting. You know, why are you fighting? Some people just literally. I think Chuck's one of those guys. He just loves that. He likes to fight, and you know, he said that in his interview. He's like, I just love to fight, and he, picking on Tito, he said Tito's the easiest. You know, that's the guy. He just has his number. To which I was like, well, he's proved us that before, but you know, 8 years later, there's a lot of what ifs. You know.
Yeah, no doubt. What have you been up to since retirement? I know you went to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Right? And then back home to California, and now you're here in Vegas. But what have you been doing, I guess? Is it just daddy time? Yeah. Or you got other stuff working?
Yeah, I'm kind of sorting through a few things right now, opportunities. But, yeah, a lot of dad. I'm enjoying it, though. It's a lot of fun. There's not no expectations right now. I can train and enjoy it, have fun.
So you've walked into a gym since the fight? You've walked into a gym and trained?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I trained quite a bit with Edmund. You know, like I said, I enjoy working with people that I like just, you know, helping coach, give back, do what I can do. I'm not the guy who's going to teach a class, a 20 or 30. I'm not going to do that. But if there's guys that I like or I can help, of course I'm going to help them. So that's been fun. Back in Nebraska, actually, I went and saw he's one of the top neurosurgeons in the country, and he's a concussion specialist. And so that was really cool for me because I got to spend like 2 hours with him. And ask him every question you could think of, and he was incredible. So I saw him right after my fight. He works with like.
What blew you away about the meeting? Is there anything you can share as far as like facts that he shared?
Sure.
That you think our audience would find interesting?
Absolutely. So one of the things is he said there's no concussions and CTE. There's no direct correlation. He said because, you know, if you break down the protein or whatever that they've found in people's brain who've had CTE, it's kind of like and I hate to put it this way, it's kind of like cancer. Like there's not really a lot of explanation for why some people get it, why some people don't. You've seen a lot of professional football players, fighters that have been doing it their whole life,
right, and
don't get it,
right.
And he said there's been no proven study and there's no direct correlation from concussions and CTE. He said, you know, you see people, the junior SEO, the people in football, like after they have passed away and you can study their brain, there's some people that have this protein in their brain and some people don't. So I found that fascinating because people watch that concussion movie and they're like, oh my God, you get too many concussions, and you know what I mean? Like I get it. It should definitely be a worry, but I found that fascinating. So
I like
it was
that
good just to get
information.
Yeah,
one of the top dogs.
Yeah, it was good. Like just, you know, we just sat here and just talk. I'm talking to him from like everything you could think of, but you know, he oversees the Cornhusker football team for concussions and their protocol, and another thing that surprised me, the sport that had the most concussions that he deals with is women's soccer. That blew me away.
No way!
Yeah.
Wow.
More than Nebraska football, more than MMA's obviously, but
is their skull obviously not as thick as ours with men?
Well,
start there.
All he had told me was, you know, their necks are not as strong. So if you compare like the female and the male neck, you know, typically are not as strong as the male, and they're heading the ball, they're running into each other. And then like, okay, it makes sense now. But he deals with concussions more in soccer than football. That blew me away too. So
wow, at all ages or. Like
I think you were talking more on the college level.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, because I got buddies who have daughters that play soccer, you know, and I'd love to like point them in the direction of any studies that might be out there. Because I have also buddies that their kids play football since they were little, doing fine, and then I have other buddies that saying I'm saving them for high school. I just don't want them taking hits in the junior Pee Wee, Mighty Mites, or whatever it's called level. that we can save for the later years, if that turns out to be their future.
Well, even aside from the head, just maybe keeping the body fresh is good too, right?
Yeah.
Flag football until then, who knows?
Right.
That was an interesting note. You know, you just my anecdotal sample size for what it's worth. Everybody I know with concussions that are outside of sports, 99% women. Whether it's a garage door falling on their head, which is an incident that is a part of that sample size, car accidents, other things. Just I don't know. There's correlation to that, but that kind of rang true there.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was fascinating to learn a lot about just like I said, concussions. You know and there's still a lot going on right now, a lot of studies, a lot of things. But again, in the medical world, their studies have to be proven to be able to come out and make a claim to back up. So it's interesting though. But even sports, you look at football, youth football, and where it is today compared to 15 years ago, it's like the competition's getting crazy.
Way different.
Yeah, I mean, I look at my kids, I'm like, I don't want them playing football at 12, running into each other like full speed. It's scary, but
back then it was just all about just make the tackle. Now it's all about I gotta take this guy,
hit him, stand over him, do this deal, and then do a selfie of yourself. I mean, yeah.
Hey,
5 water breaks in between that.
Nebraska looking good for next year, right?
Yeah, they got some momentum. Definitely a building year for them, but I think there's some Coach Fraud. They're making some good adjustments.
Do you ever run into Houston Alexander at those games?
No, I haven't. I haven't run into him in a while. But he's kind of.
He used to have access to a suite. I think he told us once.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother's wife. They got their work or whatever has a suite too. So it's like when it's cold, we're going up there and not standing outside.
You make it in. You make it into the suite.
Yeah. So we were actually there for the first game of the season that got canceled because of there was lightning and then come running out on the field. Like there was the kickoff, and that was it.
Were you shocked when they canceled it? All right.
I know you guys too well.
All right. So you're going on a morale visit to visit the troops, from what I hear, right?
Yep.
Mark Munoz, Caitlin Young,
Benny,
Dariush. Yeah. Yeah, and there's one other name. I forget who it is.
Ian Butler.
Okay. Do you know where you're going yet? Is that something you can discuss, or is it just the Middle East?
We haven't got details yet.
Right.
It's through actually the Armed Forces Entertainment who we went to Afghanistan.
Right.
So the same group, but they just said Kuwait and Iraq. So
how long is your trip?
Second time, right?
What's that?
This is your second time to Iraq?
Second time Iraq. Yeah. It'll be third trip overseas. But
how long is this trip?
10 days.
10 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And similar to ours, like, are you guys gonna roll, or is it gonna be more about Q&As, or?
I think it'll be similar to what we.
Yeah.
It'll be similar to what we did. I'm sure we'll do some clinics. We haven't got any itinerary, but a lot of the guys were asking me like, what are we gonna do? And it's like it's fun. It's like you share some stuff. We enjoy some. We break some bread and have a good time. So.
Right. All right. Cool. And when's that coming up? I just know it's December, and it's.
Yeah, I think we're going like the 12th, around there.
All right, so you'll be back for the holidays.
Right. Yeah.
Nice. I know I'm a pest with this, but what about Vegas? You staying in Cali? You moving to Vegas? You moving to Omaha?
Yeah. I'm not sure right now, but I'm weighing some things. I'm sorting some things out, but as far as pursuing career, that'll kind of dictate where we live. So
yeah.
I'm open to.
Do you think you're gonna stay in the sports world?
I would like to. Yeah, definitely.
And if so, the combat sports world?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not gonna claim to know other sports outside of combat sports.
No, but for example, like let's say. You have a lot of knowledge when it comes to like strength and conditioning and nutrition and all that. And what if you worked for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and ran that or something? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I could see you still using your knowledge in another sport.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm open, but I think I'll be staying in the combat sports. I would like to stay in the combat sports world. So.
All right. Tonight, folks, is RDA versus Kamaru Usman, and it's on Fox Sports 1. They start at 8 Eastern all the way to 10 Eastern. They're on the same channel, but they just separate them between prelims and the main card. There's three fights on the prelims that can be seen on the UFC Fight Pass. And don't forget, we got a lot of MMA. So there's 2 UFC shows. There's this one tomorrow in Australia. There's 2 Bellator cards. There's even an LFA card going on as well. KSW, like I mentioned. All of that is available on the MMA Junkie website and our app, which is available on all platforms, smartphones and tablets. So check it out. Just go to Rumors, and you'll know exactly what time these fights start, what channels you can find them on, who's on the card, and info like that. That's pretty vital. All right. I also want to thank all of our guests for the week, and then that way we can just cruise to the finish line. But we're almost done here. Rafael Dos Anjos, Rick Glenn, Sean O'Connell, Jessica Rose Clark, Steven Seiler, Chris Gutierrez, Rob Font, Calvin Cater, Maurice Green, Michael Johnson, George Roop, Yves Edwards, and Jake Ellenberger. All right, Jake. Well, hey, it's great having you stop by.
I appreciate it.
And I'm glad you're just kind of enjoying just the time off as you decide what your next, what your future holds. And that's great that you're going to go out and see the troops. It means more to them than we'll ever know.
Right. It's one of those trips too. It always ends up being just such a good, fulfilling, grateful perspective trips. But as you guys know, still the trip we went on was by far the best trip I've been on. So
yeah, it was amazing. All right, we got to get out of here. Keep it locked on MMA Junkie throughout the weekend. And want to give a shout out to Randy, the site coordinator, stopping by as well. I forgot to intro him at the beginning of the show, but we got to move on here. So for everybody in the studio, we are out of here. Go out there and be a champion.